Here we go.
Get ready, get set for the best movie and pop culture talk in the universe. It's the Good Brothers on Mercado Airwaves with your hosts, Alex Mercado and Mike Mercado.
Welcome back to another episode of the Good Brothers. I'm Alex, that's Mike. We are the Good Brothers, the best brothers, the best damn podcast in the Chicagoland area. We're your middlemen from New York to LA. Mike, say hi to the folks.
Hi, folks. My good brother, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing much better than the executives at HBO.
Man, it has been a crazy week. We got so many things to get into. We want to make sure that everybody listening to us likes, rate, reviews, and shares wherever you get your favorite podcast. It really helps grow the brand, Good Brother, and we are able to then dive deep into these types of conversations, like what is going on between Christopher Nolan and HBO, as this comes to us from our friends over at The Hollywood Reporter. So, this is coming off of what was dropped just after we recorded everything, Good Brother. They talked about all the major movies that will be dropping on HBO Max. So the one and only Christopher Nolan, who has been one of the linchpins, one of the faces of Warner Brother movies and legendary films, had very strong words. So we'll go, this is from our friends over at Hollywood Reporter. For many in the movie business, producers, directors, stars, and their representatives, December 3rd, 2020 is a day that will live in infamy. Quote, some of our industry's biggest filmmakers and most important movie stars went to bed the night before thinking they were working for the greatest movie studio and woke up to find out they were working for the worst streaming service. Filmmaker Christopher Nolan, whose relationship with Warner dates back to Insomnia in 2002. Alex was 10 years old, said in a statement to The Hollywood Reporter. Ed and Nolan, Warner Brothers, had an incredible machine for getting a filmmaker's work out anywhere, both in theaters and in the home. And they are dismantling it as we speak. They don't even understand what they're losing. Their decision makes no economic sense. And even the most casual Wall Street investor can see the difference between disruption and dysfunction. Good brother, when you hear that, and you hear about the 17-picture 2020 film slate that's going to be going to HBO, including Kong vs. Godzilla, Wonder Woman, everything in between, what are you feeling?
It's a lot to break down at once. You have the movie aspect where I think we both can agree, we talked about on numerous shows, so we won't break it down too much more, is for 2021, this is a smart idea. It's a smart move. It's going to be better overall. Whether when we disagree if we're going to be back in movies, we're not, future, that really doesn't matter in this story at the moment because I think we can both agree. Business-wise, it is a smart decision. Where it gets a little sketchy now is the fact that these creators who make a lot of money for the company, and I know we can be cynical and be like, they all are going to be fine. Regardless, you're an artist. And to have, your project that you've created from scratch, yes, the movie theater owns them, but it's still yours. Technically theirs, but on a philosophical level, it is yours. And to hear you had no say in this, you had no meeting about this, no conversation, no executive called you and said, this is what we have to do for this year. It is what it is. They didn't renegotiate contracts either, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins for Wonder Woman had to renegotiate their contract before they agreed to release it.
And they got, I think Gal got about $10 million.
They paid him as if the million would have made $1 billion.
And Will Smith didn't get paid this. So,
Nope.
there was a bunch of people who were talking about
Keanu Reeves, Will Smith.
So there was a few people, I think Charlize Theron, maybe I was
Yes.
off on one, but
Yep.
just a few, big names.
Yeah. Delnuve, he had no idea, and he's very hurt about this too.
What do we think? Obviously, we've had the argument. We've had the debate. It's the big one. It's the Super Bowl of all debates on this show about what it means, Lion King 2 going on streaming, what we mean for a streaming service. I think this is inevitable. I do think whether or not, even let's say beyond Lion King, I think it's inevitable that streaming service is just the way these companies want to go because it's more cost efficient for them. I think where I agree with Nolan first is he created movies for that format. It's one thing if you say, all right, I'm making a movie for the TV screen. Tenet wasn't made to be streamed first before you see it on IMAX. There's certain movies.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say that Kong versus Godzilla loses something
It does.
for being in just straight to home instead of being in the theater.
Regardless of TV sizes and systems.
Yeah, absolutely. But it only makes fiscal sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I get where Nolan's saying it's like economically they're losing money for the movies that they've already made.
Yes.
But like not the movies that they're filming right now. Because the films that they're filming right now are under the guise of pandemic studio marketing and revenue.
Well, that's where we tend to disagree.
But that's where I think that's more of a common sense, or at the very least, a logical standpoint. Like, it may not be the correct one, but I think it's a logical place to land of like, yeah, I mean, we're seeing it in sports. Some of the biggest markets are having to cut down. Major sports like Major League Baseball are cutting down all of their staffing and their players because you're not, quote unquote, bringing in the same revenue. Whether you and I agree with them or like, no, you're bringing in revenue, you need to save more or cut more so that you make more of a profit. And that's what we always tend to forget. We love these properties. We love these actors and these creators. Are they making a profit? Where are you making a profit?
That's what it comes down to. And that's what the issue is yeah, I mean, we can say it's the fact they weren't told. I'm sure that's a big issue. But at the end of the day, they're losing money.
Everybody is in that scenario. Even the studio. For the investment that they made in the movie, they're not going to make it back in subscriptions. And it's unfortunate because guess what? I bet you there's a lot of parameters in a deal that Nolan gets where when he made The Dark Knight, he made so much more money because this movie made billions of dollars. He won't make that on any streaming.
Well, I also think it's fascinating. The New York Times just covered it that the DJ is in discussion, nothing official, of boycotting Warner Brothers Studios. And that's the DGA, and that's a huge deal.
That's a director's guild.
And where, one of your favorites, John Campion, breaks it down is regardless if it's just them, it's a domino effect.
Then it's the
actors,
writers.
The writers. You start losing a little bit of everyone.
Yeah.
And the credibility of that, how do you make these movies? That's a very dangerous thing that can happen.
But this is why I think our show is very important, and especially the network when it comes to talking about this silliness, is you got to bring sports into it. We talk about all this time like, yeah, you could change the rules here, and then you could get rid of this thing. There's always going to be somebody that wants to play in the National Football League. There's always somebody who wants to play Game 7 of the World Series, somebody who wants to be in a tip-off of the NBA game. There will always be somebody who wants to be in the next Casablanca, who wants to be the next Batman, who wants to be James Bond. These movies will get made. These movies will get written. Whether they're the quality that we get, that we've had, totally different conversation. Which
is what differs from sports, though, is sports isn't a bit... Sports can live on necessarily through other sources of income. Compared to movies, if they start dipping in that quality, they do lose money.
Absolutely. Unless you get used to it and it becomes the norm.
Exactly.
Unless you stop getting used to the idea of Robert Downey Jr., you don't get Robert Downey Jr. anymore.
If Disney showed us anything with the straight-to-video, eventually people did stop buying them, and they had to go back to a different system.
And this is why time is a flat circle. Mm-hmm. And just because we're heading into one thing right now doesn't mean it'll always be that way. It might just be that way for a little while. That's always what you got to be prepared for. So that was one thing that came from Christopher Nolan's just completely scorching the earth when it came to HBO Max.
So before we move on, how do you feel about the people that say, well, this didn't affect you, your movie was released, and this, and this? I, for one, feel, no, a man like that does need to speak up, and because he has the voice, he's got the ear of these people. He is a billion-dollar movie maker. He created one of the best trilogies of all time, not even including it's a superhero trilogy. He needs to be the one to speak up. I appreciate that about him. Whether you think he's right or wrong, it's good to get your voice across, because if this comes from a couple other directors we've talked about, it doesn't reach the same level.
It's the same thing when it comes to sports, when it comes to acting, when it comes to everyday job. When the leaders, and not just your boisterous leaders, but like the unsung leaders, the people who are leaders without talking, it's important for them to have their say. Bringing it to sports, you don't make a decision unless you talk to LeBron James. Yep. He doesn't make the decision, but you don't make a decision without running it through your best player. There's a difference between placating and letting somebody into the circle of trust. And I think that's what happened here. Should Warner Brothers have told Nolan, Patty Jenkins, whoever else that they like to work with, hey, James Wan, this is what we're doing. Just so you know, whether you like it or not, whether you want to work with us, we'll cross that road when we get there. But this is the plan of our shareholders and our board. So I can't fault them for making that. So that's where I'm at with this. But with all that going on, we still get casting news. So before we go down the craziness, we'll get to the craziness. Let's get to one that's a little simple, just to get the juices going, the engines revving. The long-awaited Metal Gear Solid movie has found its Solid Snake in the one and only Oscar Isaac. This comes to us from our friends over at Deadline. Exclusive! Sony's long-awaited Metal Gear Solid adaptation looks to have gained some major momentum, as sources tell Deadline that Oscar Isaac is attached to play Solid Snake in the film, which is currently in development at Sony Pictures with Jordan Vogt-Roberts on board to direct. Thoughts?
Oscar Isaac is probably one of my favorite actors working today. I think he is the best part of the sequel trilogy. I love everything about him. I think he does no wrong. Any movie he's in, he's great. Whether you like the movie or not, he's always a standout. And I just love everything he does. So I'm super excited about this. I grew up watching you play these games. Never was a fan, but I like the stories that they tell. And like I said, movies like this and Resident Evil that are getting made bring me back to childhood of watching you play through these on the original PlayStation, PlayStation 2.
And what's interesting, too, is as we're recording this on a Wednesday, there was supposed to be some news about Mortal Kombat, but nothing as of yet. So we'll see. Maybe it breaks. Yeah, maybe it'll break during the show. But yeah, so patients are making their rounds right now. So we'll see if it ends up working out.
Sonic started off the year really well. So that's it only takes one to really start nice momentum going forward.
You ready to do this?
I am.
All right. So, good brother, we already know Jamie Foxx is coming back.
Yes.
We already know that we have a lot of this craziness with Michael Keaton. He's coming back. What would you say if I was to tell you that Alfred Molina was coming back?
The best Spider-Man villain in any Spider movie ever made? Yeah.
Good brother, this comes to us from Collider. Spider-Man 3, that's the third one in the MCU, bringing back Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus and past Peter Parkers? Some rumors are now saying that the Alfred Molina thing confirmed. But do you think a part of this rumor, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are going to be coming to this movie?
Well, it's the worst kept secret right now because no one can hard confirm the Spider-Men themselves. Like every day we get a new article saying like it's almost 100%. We know we're getting Emma Stone. We know we're getting Kristen Dunst. We know we're getting them. I think they're really saving it because they want it to be a wow moment still. Even though it's the worst kept secret, that's okay. Like, I'm still going to be excited when I physically see it. Obviously, this is going to be some sort of Into the Spider-Verse type of movie where, the Arrowverse, we're not going to see all these characters for like 20 minutes. They're not going to be pivotal to the movie as much as fun cameos, and cameos sell.
This comes to us from our friends at Empire. It's not just Alfred Molina. It's not just Andrew Garfield. It's not just Tobey Maguire. Ladies and gentlemen, the news continues to flow on the ever-expanding cast of the still untitled Spider-Man film starring Tom Holland. As it's more good news, hot in the heels of Alfred Molina returning as Dr. Octopus, comes word from Murphy's lips, so take that for what it's worth, that Charlie Cox will reprise the role of Matt Murdock and Daredevil. Thoughts?
I love it because they're really turning Spider-Man into the face. And remember, we haven't even mentioned Marvel's side of it. The characters we're probably going to get from that side, because this is all Sony we're still talking about, and an old Netflix property. I think Disney's smart to do this because this is where you're going to lead off now. And if you look back at the old comics, if you look back at the old animated shows from the 90s, Spider-Man was the one that kind of gave the universe that it's almost the Flash of the universe, where he's the one that really brought in a lot of cool things, a lot of a lot of dimension traveling. And I love that they're doing it with the movie. We say it in wrestling, Tom Holland's getting the rub, basically saying like, no, where he's going to be carrying this MCU franchise, and he's a young man for 10, 15 years without Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr.
And we'll see what happens with the Venom movie with Carnage. We'll see what happens with the success of Spider-Man Miles Morales, how much that will impact a live-action version of that movie, how much WandaVision and Doctor Strange will affect these movies moving forward, and it's super exciting times, and I'm stoked.
Remember this, it leads into a little side story. December 10th, we're filming on a Wednesday. December 10th, Disney comes out with their stockholders meeting.
Yes.
And the early rumors from our sides that we've been hearing is they are going to make some game-changing announcements beyond just the whole fact that we're pretty sure most things are going to go to Disney Plus next year.
Yeah.
Black Widow, but I think it's going to be even bigger. Like, they're going to really come hard.
I think I know
from what we're hearing.
I think they'll let us know the casting of Black Panther.
It's going to be a lot. I think we're getting a lot of news from Disney to really bury HBO on this.
Oh, very interesting.
Because,
sure.
hey, we're not trying to say, well, we're going to do that. And, hey, those things that we basically took a year off of doing? Here's news.
No, absolutely. So, just for me personally, I love Spider-Man 1 and 2, the original ones. Some of my favorite movies. Yep. I had an awesome Velvet poster from Spencer's that was in my bedroom. I was obsessed with that movie. I was obsessed with the video games, the one from Activision. I love the Spider-Man franchise. For us to be getting this type of movie, it's unbelievable. It's unreal. It's unfathomable that we are getting this type of movie, but we shouldn't be surprised anymore. Everything is on the table.
Sinister Six.
And the fact that the Sinister Six is actually happening, the fact that it's a real thing, the fact that I fought the Sinister Six as a 10-year-old, and as a 30-year-old, I get to watch them come to life.
In the Sinister Six, actually, just last year.
It's gonna be, I literally just did it again. It's gonna be amazing to see this all come together, and the fact that it's in the loving hands of some of these creators really goes to show that we've come a long way in pop culture, and I'm excited about this one, good brother. But speaking in the hands of people who love it, it is time for our weekly gush session of the one and only, the best TV show on the face of the planet in a galaxy far, far away, The Mandalorian. Good brother, for years, we've always been, since the beginning, huge Star Wars fans, and we've always heard the legend of Boba Fett. And the prequels try to give us a taste of it, and video games have tried to show us an introduction of it. And in one episode by Robert Rodriguez, we actually saw the legend come to life. Talk to me about it.
So, obviously, growing up, Boba Fett was kind of that character where, you knew he was cool and he looked cool, but you really didn't know why he was so cool. And then, you heard, in the books and the comics, he's got a cool backstory. We kind of did him dirty. And then you see this episode, you're like, oh, okay, Boba Fett's that guy. Boba Fett is one of my new favorite characters off of 20 minutes of screen time.
I had one audible squeal moment. I'm not even exaggerating, not for the podcast, but for you. The rocket launcher. When it dropped,
uses it.
Yes, when it dropped, I literally did his little scope went on. I'm like, that was phenomenal.
It's one of those moments where you're like, man, we've always seen it, and the toys were cool, but we never got to use it, and you finally get to see him use it. You're like, my life is complete. I've waited 28 years of my life to see this man use that freaking rocket.
Let's talk about Grogu getting with the Force.
I called it 2 weeks ago. I told you.
Well, one of the most amazing, I feel scenes of somebody interacting with the Force. I felt like we saw the Force.
It's getting so much more powerful. Yeah. And it's not really a timetable thing as much as technology and lore. And I love how, even if you don't like the sequel trilogy, I love that the Force is really getting explained more.
Yeah.
And we're really seeing the true power. Because in the original trilogy, the Force might be one of the weaker things. Compared to when you see it in Rogue One, you get to see Darth Vader use it full blown. Which I like that we're seeing now is we can afford and visually show us using the Force much better.
What do you think we have in store for this coming up Friday?
So we have 2 more episodes. So obviously we're doing,
gathering everybody.
A 7 Samurai. Yeah. We're gathering the crew, which is going to be awesome. I love Bill Burr. Bill Burr.
Yeah, Bill Burr is amazing. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Hopefully it's just Bill Burr.
I think it's going to be just Bill Burr.
Yeah.
And then obviously that's going to be a fun episode. And then I think obviously the season finale is going to be the big team, all the Mandos. I think everyone but Ahsoka. I think Ahsoka's the only one that we're not going to get back because she's going to get her own show.
Interesting.
I think everyone else from the season we get back.
Okay.
For one more ride, and we're going to really go a huge battle. I think it ends with them getting the kid. Hard ending. I think we get back there. Maybe we see a sense of a Jedi. I don't think we're going to get Luke Skywalker like people want. I think maybe we'll get a name drop. Maybe a random Jedi that we're just going to meet is going to be I was sent by Luke Skywalker. Something more like that compared to actually oh, look, it's the hand. I don't think we're getting that. Maybe a Force Ghost, something fun like that, but I think that's where we end the season. But it's Star Wars. You're going to end on a happy note for the season.
Where do you think the end game is for Mandalorian?
In my head, I think it all ends with a few seasons, but long term, the kid becomes Mandalorian Jedi.
And do you think they do something with that?
Yes.
So you think they're going to do
It's
maybe
long-ass plan.
Maybe
Yep.
you think they, like a CGI Mando Baby Yoda
Something
thingy?
fun like that. Yep. Maybe a movie. Maybe you
Interesting.
finally, maybe.
I see. I'm like,
I think it's so endless at this point that they're just like.
what do you think about
we're
them?
killing it.
Do you feel like they're retconning a lot of stuff from prequels? And
I think they're honoring a lot of stuff from prequels. I think they're like using a lot of the prequel stuff. Like it's very hard nerd stuff where you're like, they're not retconning. They're kind of filling in the backstory. And you appreciate that even for the sequel trilogy coming up. Like you're starting to be like, so that's how he was cloned. Okay, so that makes this a little bit better from what I saw it first time.
does Grogu ever have to grow up in this series?
In this one,
In Mandalorian, does he?
Do you think we'll get a time jump eventually?
No, I actually
No.
don't. I do think it'll be detrimental to this series if you make him grow up. But I also do think you can't have the series go on for so much longer.
The thing, like again, a great series, Hall of Fame series, about let's say 5 to 6 seasons. That's Hall of Fame numbers.
Yeah.
Anything more than that usually get a little repetitive. Look at Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Compared to a Sopranos and
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad. I think, obviously, with the time jump, we're in this modern Star Wars. We're right at the sequel trilogy ended. That's where modern Star Wars is. If you ever wanted to throw the kid into that as a Jedi, I can understand. But during The Mandalorian, he's got to be a kid.
Not the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Because a time jump for
Because he's going to outlive. Because he's like, obviously.
Grogu's gonna outlive it.
So I would like to see maybe if like you're looking at now the next trilogy in a few years, you're like, oh snap, we have this character we can use, and he'd be like a young man now, and he was trained by a Mandalorian and a Jedi. That could be really cool.
Yeah, maybe he gets the Darth saber, the dark saber, and because he's a foundling.
Yep.
So I mean, I guess
Exactly. Like it all makes sense. Where you're like, yeah, dude, I would love that to be a thing where like maybe he's the one that really brings Mandalorians and Jedis together.
Does Grogu, Baby Yoda, ever wear a Mandalorian suit?
In the show?
Not an Etsy,
Like a little
Amazon.
baby one?
Does he ever wear a Mandalorian?
I hope so.
Beskar.
Oh, I hope so. I'll think him a little baby
stuff.
one.
Yeah, I would buy everything
because like
Baby
obviously
Mando.
like the coat's a little thick on him.
Yes.
So like he has a normal body.
Yeah, he's a little.
So like
yeah.
if you give him some armor, like he can walk. He just has a big robe. He's a Jedi.
Have you seen the picture with all of them, like George Lucas with Grogu's like stand-in thingy?
Yeah.
So how much would you pay for a Grogu,
Like a real one?
like a real Grogu?
a lot.
Like you see, like my Infinity Gauntlet,
Yeah,
like a
like a
one?
life size one.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot of money probably.
How much Baby Yoda stuff is gonna go crazy this Christmas?
You know what? I think it's gonna be better because they're much more prepared.
That's what. So how do you,
A lot, yeah,
do you think
like a
like
lot,
that?
yeah.
Do you think that's gonna be the
Grogu alone made Mandalorian from great television to must-watch television.
Do you think that that's the pop culture item of the season?
No, I don't think we have. I think that's a PlayStation 5 at this point. I think technology's kind of taking those out.
So you think this year's Christmas rush is going to be based off Xbox, PlayStation?
Yeah.
It won't be Grogu stuff.
No, because there's so much at this point. It's kind of saturated where you can't get a solid.
There's not that
play
one
on it.
Grogu
There's
thing.
not that one
Yeah.
toy. There's like 6 that talk and 7 that move and 6 fluffies and a pillow. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Fair, yeah.
Which is smarter, like
Yeah.
business wise. There's not that one.
There's not a talking Elmo or Furby.
No. That doesn't. I don't think those exist anymore.
No,
at
they
this
do. It's
point.
just they come and go. So like
it's
so
more of a
sporadically.
seasonal
Yeah.
thing. You know, like the American Girl dolls.
I did love the Mandalorian sniper that the Nerf company was doing.
Yeah.
I clicked at the link as soon as you sent it to me, and it was already sold
Yeah,
out.
like
Like
that-
I would have
that
paid.
kind of-
I would have
yeah.
paid the $100 just to put in the studio.
Yeah.
Like it would have gone right next to the Affinity
No,
Gauntlet.
I would have carried it
Yeah,
around town.
I would have let you look at it. That's for sure. Good brother. You want to talk a little bit about NXT?
Yeah, we could do that.
All right. What did you think about let's start with the women's War Games match. War Games.
Fantastic.
Great match.
It was a great pay-per-view. Every
Same
match
here,
was
agreed.
great.
Yeah. Triple Threat was awesome.
Obviously, that sucks for Candice LeRae to break her arm.
She'll be back around.
Yeah, it was great. I love Raquel Gonzalez. Like, that is my new obsession. I think she's gorgeous. I think there's something about a powerful, talented woman. Oh, man.
Super rub with her pinning
Like,
Io.
she's everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
I love that. I thought it was a fantastic match. I love Io. Did not love the trash can.
I did. It was funny.
But I didn't hate it though. So
I'm with you on the sense where I feel like her and Asuka do like a lot of that silly stuff.
They don't need to.
The problem is on NXT it works because she backs it up.
Yeah.
With Asuka, sometimes you're like, well, they don't let her like back it up sometimes.
We just know she's a badass.
Yeah, because
so it
it's
gets
Raw.
with it.
I mean, Raw's just unwatchable sometimes.
Yeah, totally. I love Thatcher versus Ciampa.
I love Ciampa.
Great match.
Great match.
Fantastic match. Undisputed Era. Fantastic. Honestly, a fantastic match. What is it with red? Red and gold. Great wrestling attire colors.
I love the face turn because obviously when we saw them last year at War Games, they were the heel team.
Yes.
So I love that
they've been the heel team every War Games match.
Except for now. And they really took a turn. Like, I love the babyface are. Kudos to Pat McAfee. I mean, he's
great match for him.
really pushing NXT to a great direction. He's a great heel. He's a great authoritative figure, but not being. The crew behind him is fantastic because they're all great wrestlers. And Pete Dunne can talk. The other two don't need to really do much besides be great wrestlers. I love the relationship with Rigo. That War Games match, it's always hard. It's like a really good Royal Rumble where you're like, man, like it's hard to really pick a one. Like that was the best one. I tend to think the one we went to last year was the best War Games match ever.
A lot of people end up arguing with War Raiders and Ricochet.
It was really good too.
And the AOP one, like the AOP with Roddy one was really good. Like there's been some really good
with
War
Sanity,
Games.
yeah.
So, I mean, I think we had, in my opinion, Chicago War Games had the best spot out of all of them. Because it had the Ciampa, Adam McCall spot, and the Kevin Owens surprise
pop
was the best part.
Did you have Keith Lee? Come on.
And that's also like Keith Lee's emergence was that weekend.
Dijakovic.
Yeah, I think it was just a great...
many superstars in that match. And there was a lot of superstars in this match too. But obviously, I think when you look back at last year's, you're like, those are 8 potential Hall of Famers. Like, let's take Undisputed. Like, they're one of the best factions ever. I like Keith Lee, Dominic, Kevin Owens. And I'm like, ooh, yeah, that's pretty legit.
And the rest of the undercard for ours was really good, but it was a great.
What'd you think of the triple threat for the North American?
Loved it. Like to
I
be
love
honest with
Damian
you,
Priest.
Damian Priest is a superstar. Like he's a superstar, and like that. Leon Ruff, great showing.
He's cool.
Did his part. And Gargano is a great ring general.
Yeah.
Like he runs the ring, he runs the match great. So
he's always a personal favorite.
So I think they knocked it out of the park. I thought it was a great War Games.
It really was.
So we'll see what happens moving forward with WWE TLC. We'll see what happens with AEW with the Sting thing and how that works.
Oh, Mike, do you like Sting maybe?
Yeah, just a little bit. But I will say this though, now that the nostalgia has come down, the real question becomes like, now what?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do now?
Exactly. I don't think they know. Well, look at that stupid ass. Like I hate to say it. I'm like what is it? TNA Impact, whatever it is now.
Yeah,
that's
Impact.
dumb.
Yeah,
I watched last night like on YouTube when they posted it. I was like, okay, so you're not really doing anything. You just wanted to give them a rub. Like, I don't think your subscription numbers are gonna go up for this one night thing, guys. Like, I don't know, man. I agree.
I did not like we said Omega was going to
pop thing.
How crazy was it? I was so right about Kenny Omega, but so wrong at the same time. Yeah. I said it was going to be Kenta costing John Moxley, and they were going to have a deal with Drew Japan. But they cost John Moxley, but it was Impact that cost him. And it was Don Callis. So it's like, okay,
that's like saying you're going to Starbucks but getting Dunkin' Donuts instead.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But I mean, it is what it is. What are you supposed to do when? You know,
now we have Shaq on tonight.
Yeah, I'm not about that.
It's just every time they do something cool, they do something dumb.
If Shaq was on WWE,
I wouldn't be that.
It
I would
wouldn't
be
go
like,
over.
Okay, Shaq's been on WWE like 7 times this year.
Really fast, good brother. I finished Spider-Man Miles Morales.
How was that?
Fantastic.
Give me a score out of 10.
9 out of 10.
9? What'd you give the other Spider-Man?
9 out of 10.
Why isn't it a 10 out of 10? Where's the 1 point? Where do you lose on 1 point? Because some people, these are Game of the Year contenders.
No, yeah, some of it.
Where does the 1 point differ?
There were some really bad glitches. The game restarted a few times. The game crashed a few times during a live stream on Twitch. I mean, it's hard. There's been very rare 10s. Like a 10 is rare. God of War is one. The first Last of Us.
That's what I was like. Batman for you. Like I've seen
the Arkham. Yeah, like the first Arkham was a 10.
Was that it? Was
yeah.
The glitch?
Yeah, that, but a phenomenal game. Like almost damn near a perfect game. Okay. It's interesting. You want to know the bad guys of the game, the main bad guys.
Yeah.
Tinker and Rhino are the ones that
Rhino?
a redone Rhino by Roxxon. And do you know this bad guy, good brother? Simon Krieger.
No.
Simon Krieger, a bad guy in the Spider-Man universe, owns the big technology, becomes a bad guy later on. like an actual bad guy. He's also one of the main baddies in that one. But yeah, I highly recommend. Awesome time. Loved it. 9 out of 10. Highly suggested. Can't wait to see what they're going to do. You want to know the post-credit scene?
Yes.
So in Spider-Man proper, the first one, you end with Norman in a laboratory, and he walks up to a tub, and a black gooey thing hits the tube.
Venom.
The next Spider-Man Miles Morales, you're in the green tube, and you see the symbiote inside of you, and you see Norman right there, and it's Harry we've also deduced it, but like we're confirmed that it's Harry who's in there, and Harry has the black symbiote all over him. So Harry might be Venom of some sort.
So what, it just connects the games or something?
I don't know. But they're in the same universe. The ending before post-credit is Miles and Peter swinging together.
Oh, okay.
Because they've known that each other is Spider-Man at the end of Spider-Man 1.
I thought it was a different universe.
No, it's the same universe. No, it's the same. There's 2 Spider-Man in this universe.
A lot of crime in that universe.
Yeah, and it's funny, though, because they call him the small Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man. You're not the real Spider-Man. So 10 out of 10, highly love it. Love it. Good brother. I think that's it for this episode.
I think that is.
Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of The Good Brothers. We will see you next time here on The Good Brothers on the Mercado Airwaves
Network.
Thanks for joining us here on The Good Brothers, here on Mercado Airwaves.